All right, so we are live, and I am excited because I am joined with a super special guest who knows a thing or two, or more than that, about PPC. My name is Kevin Sanderson. I am the VP of Marketing at My Amazon Guy, and I'm filling in for Marissa Lindsay. I had been on this live stream before, but either way, on that note, Vince, so excited that you're here.
Kevin, it's good to see you. It's
Yes, so yeah, it's
been a
good to
minute.
see you too. It's we saw each other in Fort Lauderdale about 3 months ago.
Yep, about 3 months
Time
ago,
flies when you're
end of
having
May.
fun. Time flies in this business. So, welcome back, everybody, from the holiday weekend. Vince, we're excited to have him because he is a PPC expert, and he's also joining us from Trivium.
Yes.
And so, sometimes people may think like, "Oh, well, Trivium is an agency, and my Amazon Guy is an agency. Like, you're bringing on your competitors." And we're like, "Yeah."
Mostly what I get is, wait, Vince isn't with Helium 10 anymore?
Oh, gotcha. So, well, anyway, for folks who maybe are familiar with you from various places on the interwebs, could you give a quick little background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. Vince Montero. Again, I've been in this space. Well, I've actually been in digital marketing for about 20 years,
Hmm.
almost. And Amazon specifically in 2017. Picked up my first client, still my first client, or still a client. 2019 started working at Helium 10. At that time, they didn't have any kind of PPC solution. People that, if you guys aren't familiar with Helium 10, they're pretty big software company that focuses on Amazon. And so yeah, I joined them in 2019 and built out a PPC solution there called well, first it was called Ads, and then we iterated it and now it's called Atomic. And yeah, left there pretty much almost at the end of last year. And earlier this year, Mina's been a friend of mine, since I joined back in 2019, Helium 10. And I was one of the people that encouraged him actually, that he should start an agency, and he did. So kind of a little bit full circle. Now supporting him with additional content. If anyone follows Mina or Trivium Group, they know that they make a lot of content, and
Hmm.
that's what I like about Trivium. That's what I like. That's what I liked most about Helium 10 too, was the ability to provide value and content and training, in mass, so to speak. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So you like answering people's questions and providing proactive answers to them. So
If
we're in
I
the right
can,
place.
yeah.
Awesome. So for those of you watching, you'll have a chance to ask Vince some questions, get his insights from 20 years in digital marketing, which is like a lifetime.
It
So
is. I've
were
seen.
you in the room when Jeff Bezos had the spray painted Amazon sign next to his
No,
like
but
cardboard or card table that he had, like his
no.
big CRT monitor?
Let's just say I started in when I started in Amazon ads, they just had sponsored product ads. So I got to see the evolution of at the time they were called headline search ads, and some people still
Mhm.
refer them, the top banner ads.
Right, right.
That was a big deal, So I got to see pretty much every iteration Amazon has launched since they delved into Amazon ads. But no, previously I've seen, I remember when banner ads were new on websites, like that was that was the big deal. So I've seen it all. Social media marketing, mobile marketing, and but yeah, Amazon quickly became my niche, so to speak,
Mhm.
because there was a need at the time, because it was new. It was a new area for Amazon and for
Mhm.
sellers. And luckily, I had already been doing, somewhat similar things in different platforms. And so when I, first looked at the dashboard, I pretty much said, I can figure this out, and I did pretty quickly. So all self-trained, and then was lucky enough to then expand and build that knowledge, of how I used to do things, into a solution which I still use actually,
Oh,
luckily.
nice.
Even though I'm not at Helium 10 anymore, I still advocate for the product that obviously I helped build. So
Yeah, that's a pretty cool experience getting to build a tool from the ground up, so to speak,
yes, never
and
done
with the
that
resources
before.
Helium.
So It's something else I can add to my checklist. Working with developers, I've got that under my belt now.
Nice. Well, good for you. Well, for those of you watching, just to make sure that you can hear us, I'm not going to ask you if you can hear me, but I will assume you can hear me if you put in where you are watching us from. So we'd just like to know, put in the chat where you're watching us from. I'm in Palm City, Florida, which is sort of near West Palm Beach. And for those who aren't familiar, there's really nothing west about West Palm Beach. It is on the east coast of Florida. It's not in western part of Palm Beach County. It's maybe west of the ocean because, the Atlantic Ocean is on the east.
Yeah,
the land is on the west. I don't know.
Should be called East Palm Beach.
Right, exactly. You would think so. You would think everything
I'm
would point to
west.
its East Palm Beach. But
I'm the furthest west in California. I'm on the beach in California, so I'm
right, exactly.
I'm
so there's a North Palm Beach, but North Palm Beach is west of West Palm Beach.
Okay,
so I don't know.
Got it.
Yeah. But anyway, where are you joining us from, Vince?
Laguna Beach, California.
Laguna Beach. Okay.
Yeah, it was at the time when COVID happened, the lockdowns happened. Helium 10's office is in Irvine, and it's right off of this one main highway that leads into this canyon and leads into this beach. And so when the lockdowns happened, I said, I want to live somewhere where I can just walk around, walk to the beach, walk to restaurants, walk to the hills. And so that's why I chose this place, and God, over 3 years ago now. So
oh wow.
Yeah, I love it. It's a walkable, where I am, very walkable city.
Nice. Now, didn't MTV have a TV show about Laguna Beach, or was that different?
Yeah, well, there was a show called The OC at one point, and then that was all kind of, and then Laguna Hills, I think, was another show. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was pretty much all this area and the surrounding. They're not mountains, but they are very large hills with very, very expensive homes.
Okay, so it's mountains from where I'm at. So
yes, to you it'd be a mountain. Yeah.
Yes, because Space Mountain is considered the tallest mountain in Florida.
Is it really?
At one time it was. I don't know.
The
Expedition Everest might be taller at the Disney's Animal Kingdom. Either way, Disney owns the tallest mountains.
Everest is higher. Florida. You're
right. Well, awesome. Well, we do have some guests joining us. So Fatima Azan. Hopefully I said that right. If I butchered your name, I apologize. Voice is clear. Fasahat is joining us from Pakistan. We have Rosina VA joining us from Dubai. James Lee is joining us from New Jersey. We have Exit in 7 joining us from Burbank, California. How far is Burbank from where you're at?
Oh, like an hour maybe.
You guys are practically neighbors.
Practically.
Especially when you compare Liverpool would be not quite so close as Burbank would be to you. But
I'll be in London this weekend though, so then I'll be closer.
Oh, nice. Maybe you guys can enjoy some tea and crumpets.
Yes.
And then Facebook user is joining us from Pakistan. So one thing I will just say is if you're watching us in the Facebook group, you only have to do this one time ever for any Facebook groups. You don't have to technically, but it's part of Facebook rules that if you're joining us and you are in a private group, they will not put your name up there unless you authorize them. So all you got to do is go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. There might even be a link in the description. It literally just pops up a box. You click a button and you're done. You never have to do it again. And instead of saying Facebook user with a generic profile picture, it would have your actual picture if you want us. And then we can say, hey, Todd or Jimmy or Susan or Mohammed or whatever your name is, commented or asked this question. We can give you credit for the question. But anyway,
I have to say the same thing when I do these.
Right. Exactly. So Fasahat says, yeah, that's right. So I think that means pronunciation. So the pronunciation that I gave earlier must have been correct. Good. Exit in 7 gave a thumbs up to the hour away comments. And then we also have Devin joining us from Louisiana. How do you pronounce it?
Louisiana.
Because it's technically be Louisiana, but I just know that like my relatives, I have relatives that live in Mississippi.
Oh yeah,
Mississippi. Because
Mississippi.
they kind of like leave out, I don't think they do it on purpose, but just the way it just kind of comes out. It's
Yeah,
Mississippi in Biloxi, Mississippi. That,
Louisiana.
yeah, so maybe Louisiana,
Louisiana. I got
Louisiana,
the
like
second
it
eye.
just kind of like crunches it together a little bit. So I'm kind of curious how the locals pronounce it. Anyway, we do have some good questions coming in. So sooner you ask your questions, the sooner we will get to them, because we will go somewhat in order, although I reserve every right to go out of order if I see something that adds to the conversation in my sole discretion. So
You are
if I
question
skip
master.
you, it's not anything personal. So anyway, on that note, happy Tuesday. Yes, happy Tuesday to you as well, James. I was wondering, what is a good ACoS range? This could be controversial.
I literally just have. I think it just went out this last week. A video on this, like the 7 minutes to everything you want to know about ACoS.
Okay.
And how I broke it down in that video on the Trivium YouTube channel. Actually, what I started is most people that ask this question don't know what their break-even ACoS is, and then they don't know what their target ACoS is, and then they don't know what their total ACoS should be. So I always say it's different for everybody, but if you really know your margins and you really know your costs, then knowing your break-even ACoS is super important at launch. So and this question again, James, it changes at launch. It's something at maintenance. It's something. So are we talking about launch? Are we talking about maintenance? He's probably talking about maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say for my clients that I work with, it ranges anywhere from 10% to 20%. So at the end of the day, again, I like to talk about total ACoS more than just ACoS, because really, if your ACoS is bad but your tacos is good, you're actually okay. You can actually afford to do more even with your PPC. But general rule of thumb, I'd say 10% to 20% is a good range. But you really have to test that. I mean, I have a meeting later this week about testing this with my client, and they're like, well, if we pushed our target ACoS to 30%, how much more revenue could we make? I'm like, I don't know, but we can test it. So it's like you want to optimize, obviously, but if you over optimize, then you don't know how many sales you could actually get if you opened it up the throttle a little bit more. So I could do this experiment with my client at a 30% ACoS, but their sales jumps through the roof and their tacos drops down. And then all of a sudden for them, they're like, okay, well, our new ACoS goal is 30%. That was a long-winded answer.
Got it. So there's a lot of depends. You need to look at like what is break even to you, because maybe your product, it's a 30% break even, but someone else has a 45% break even. So what is your break even all said and done? Because if you have, let's say, other people in your niche have a 45% break even and you have a 30% break even, you probably should look at what could you do to cut costs and still remain quality, or raise your price, or whatever the case is.
Yeah. Yes, generally speaking, my advice, James, is to try to see if you can focus more on tacos, your total ACoS. And if you're so ACoS is simply your PPC spend divided by your PPC sales. Tacos is your PPC spend divided by your organic sales and your PPC sales. So it'll generally give you a lower number. I definitely see with the PPC sales and organic sales, they do track, right? So they are connected, which is why I like to talk about tacos so much. But I understand how, without the right software or, agency or consultant, it might be a little bit more challenging to track. But in general, I think it's just a better question than focusing solely on ACoS.
Yeah, because if you had a business, you're looking at like a brick and mortar business, I should say. If you had a brick and mortar business, you're looking at what is your total cost for marketing, but then you're
Mhm,
also going to drill down a little bit more and like how effective were my marketing itself. So
mhm.
in general, people talk about in advertising, there's a halo effect of ads. Like if you
Yep.
have a billboard, there's going to be stuff that you just can't seem to attribute. And so with Amazon, because it's so dynamic of a marketplace, as you're saying, you could also get organic sales as a result of your PPC sales.
Yep.
So,
And I just looked on the Trivium YouTube channel. It's the very first video because it was 4 days ago that they launched it.
okay.
ACoS explained in 7 minutes. So James, if you want to take a look at the YouTube Trivium group, you'll see a multitudes of videos that I have done since starting
Nice.
in February, and that is literally the first one on the page.
Well, good deal. All right. So James has a two-part question here. I have about 1,000 ASINs in automotive. I spend about $3,000 a month for broad campaigns for each ASIN. ACoS is continuing to rise, and I'm not sure what to do next. Created exact matches with keywords from broad campaigns, but they're not converting. Tried auto campaign with all ASINs, and it can be difficult to control them segmenting.
Yeah. So number one, hopefully he's not running ads on 1,000 ASINs. You
Right.
got to pick and choose to see what will work, and then focus on those. And then maybe once that's working, then pick a few others. But so for starters, James, I'd say try to pick best sellers, top sellers, and focus on those. The campaign structure that I always advocate is what's in Atomic, what I built into that: auto campaign, broad match campaign, exact match campaign, product, and a product targeting campaign at least. So ASIN based campaign. So at least those four for sponsored product campaigns. It sounds like you've been running the broad. So it sounds like you did that a little bit in reverse. You started with broad. That's not the best thing to do, unfortunately, which you're probably seeing. It's best to try to start with auto if you're doing like kind of research campaigns, because Amazon will find a lot of search terms, a lot of potential ASINs for you quickly, better than the broad research keywords. So, and it also depends how many keywords, another thing that I advocate, another video of mine on YouTube channel is, setting up the campaigns. If you've got mixed search volumes in your campaigns, that's problematic, right? If you've got high search volume keywords mixed in with lower search volume keywords, and I advocate no more than 20 keywords in a campaign, and 20 is max, and that's only if they're lower search volume. If you've got high search volume keywords and you want to keep them to between 5 and 10. So it really depends on. There's too many variables, James, unfortunately, to give a coherent answer, especially with 1,000 ASINs.
Well, and if only spending $3,000 a month, that's only $3.
Well, no, I think
so.
Go back to part one. I think he said 3,000. Was it per campaign? Can you go back to part one?
I spent $3,000 a month for broad.
Oh, okay. Then never mind.
Oh, for each ASIN. Wait, for each ASIN?
He says for each ASIN.
So I'd be curious because that would be $3 million. That might be $3,000 on broad campaigns.
Yeah, if it's
so
James, if it's 3,000 total a month, that's not very much. Right? Yeah. You don't have enough data. If it's 3,000 a month per ASIN, and you're doing, again, I don't think you're doing 1,000 ASINs advertising. You're probably doing, I don't know, maybe 10. That's a lot. That's 30,000. So then you do have enough data. But at the end of the day, if these campaigns are new, which I'm assuming they are newer, and you got a lot of data because you said you got broad campaigns, so you have tons of good. You should have a good data set right now to say, look in it and be like, what's working, what's not working, negative, all the stuff that's not working in your auto campaigns, or pause. Well, again, broad match keywords, you want a negative, right? So you got a lot of search terms coming to those broad match keywords. So you do want to negate the stuff that is not working, keep the broad match keywords that are working.
Yeah, and I would imagine some of these, if it's automotive, it might be windshield, like just as an example, windshield wipers for, a certain year range of Chrysler Pacifica or something like that,
Sure.
So like if these are ultra specific, I would be ultra specific with the keywords and not get too broad. Because if you just say windshield wipers and someone doesn't have a 2023 Chrysler Pacifica, or they have the wrong trim level for that size windshield wiper, like, I don't know. I guess we'd have to know a little bit more info too, right?
Yeah, again, like there's if you want, and I'm sure you guys probably offer this too, but Trivium offers a free audit. So I think it's a banner ad on our website, triviumco.com. And it's we have so many audits that are in there right now, but we have somebody that will take a look. Yeah, so you can go to that website and there's a link, and someone from the Trivium team will take a look at it for you and give you like a breakdown of how the campaigns are performing, and then you can choose to do whatever you want with that information. Maybe you'll be at a place to be able to use the services of the agency. But it's that's a tough one. And I'm sure margins are an issue too, right? Because PPC is tough when you have thin margins.
Yeah, exactly. And I would imagine automotive is probably very tight. Depending on what an automotive. Some things,
true. Some things could be overpriced.
Right, exactly. So it just depends. All right. So now switching from automotive to auto campaigns, Yvonne asks, auto campaigns seem to spend a lot of money. Do you suggest always using auto campaigns? And if they're spending a lot but not creating many sales, should they be switched off? So
great question, Yvonne. Auto campaigns are research campaigns. So they are basically discovery, right? So that's really their only purpose. And what I mean by that is, again, Amazon's running them. Amazon knows the keywords to put your product in front of, to which shoppers, maybe what detail pages shoppers are landing on that might match your particular product. That all is 100% dependent on your product detail page and how optimized your product detail page is. So caveat, the more optimized your pages, the better the auto campaigns perform. But yeah, I mean, you got search terms that are coming to you and they make sales, then you start targeting those keywords. You've got search terms that are coming to you that are not making sales, you negate them. So they are expensive, but you really have, if you just stay on top of them, they're manageable. And again, I use software, I use Atomic to manage them, so it's a hell of a lot easier. But I used to do that manually. I used to look at the search term reports every couple of days and scan, sort and filter and things like that, and then figure out what's working, what's not working, and then respond. I would say the switching off question, no. It used to be where you would pull out a keyword, and James kind of mentioned this in his question. Like, you'll find a search term that works in the auto campaign, and then you try to match it exactly, like you try to target it exactly, and you don't get any traffic. It happens a lot. It seems to be happening a lot more. So I would say maybe target it as a phrase match or a broad match, and then you might get traffic to that. But you basically leave it alone in the auto campaign. A lot of people back in the day, we would just negate it in the auto campaign so that you're trying to force Amazon to find it in your other campaign. You can't force Amazon to do anything, unfortunately, one thing I've learned over the years. So I would say the whole negating, if it's working in the auto campaign, leave it in the auto campaign, right? So eventually over time, you should only have search terms that are actually converting for you. You're also targeting them manually because you should, but you should be negating regularly all the ASINs and all those search terms that are not working in your auto campaigns. And then over time, eventually, I'm talking years later, Because again, I've been doing this since 2017, so I've got some auto campaigns that started back then, and they kind of lose their power, and you just turn them into low bid auto campaigns. So you just go in and you drop the bid very low, and it becomes like a remnant traffic kind of auto campaign. It doesn't get a lot of sales, but the ACoS is really good, because again, you've got that, it's completely cleaned up. All the getting the search terms or ASINs that were wasteful have been negated, so you don't see those anymore. But they take a little bit of extra time, I would say, to optimize than other campaigns, but they're definitely worth it.
Yeah. And how much would you put into like the substitutes, complements, those different?
There's different ways of doing this. Some people advocate for, at launch, you could launch an auto campaign for each one of those targets, right? You just turn off the other three. You could do that. I like to just turn them on and let Amazon do its thing, and then over time, within I'd say between 3 and 4 weeks, you can see which target's going to work, right? And you can kind of tell based on the search terms that are coming in. You can kind of, if you read them, you can kind of tell, oh, this is a complementary product. Oh, that must be from the complement target. And you go in, you see, oh, yeah, complement target's not working. Just turn off that one target, and then all those similar search terms, they go away. So I would say I like to run campaigns for a month. I know that might be expensive for some people, but really having 30 days worth of continuous, like not out of budget campaigns, having 30 days of continuous data is invaluable, and being able to then respond by looking at the different targets and then deciding, okay, because you can drop the bids on certain targets, but generally speaking, yeah, close match and complementary are the ones that are going to perform, and generally speaking, the other two don't. I have seen it the other way, but most of the time it's the close match and the complementary that are going to work the best.
Which would make sense. Yvonne also wants to know, what are your favorite ads that you run?
Video ads.
Video ads. Okay.
Oh yeah, God, I have so much content about video ads. Yeah, they're the top performing. I mean, they're the best for branding, and they're the best for visibility. They're the best for lifting overall sales. And Amazon is iterating continuously. It used to be that you'd only see one video in the middle of the search. Now you see one at the bottom, typically as well. You see some at the top now, and the certain sponsor brand area. There's video that can play there now. There's multiple places on product detail pages now where video is. Yeah. So yeah, video is my favorite thing to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think Amazon's gonna be moving more and more to more video placements. Just because they see it works.
Yeah.
All right.
They're very good about making sure things are not too, they want the shopper experience to flow. They don't want to have too many interruptions, but wherever they can potentially test a video placement, I've seen them do it, and they're still doing it. And so if you can hop on that bandwagon, and on that note, one of the reasons why I talk about it more is because it's much more feasible to do them now. Like, maybe a couple of years ago, doing a video was more challenging, but there's so many tools out there. I mean, Amazon's even got a video builder within it, and you can kind of plug and play. So it doesn't have to be super fancy commercial like video. It can be just a regular video with some images and some background music if you want it. But it converts, at least from what I see.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rosina VA asks, at launch, are you in favor of ignoring break-even ACoS in favor of sales velocity, or do you side with the accountants? So I guess that means, how aggressive do you get?
Again, if you know your break-even ACoS, then that allows you to be aggressive without breaking the bank, right? So break-even ACoS simply means the sales that you're getting equal the spend, right? So you're not losing money, but you're not making money. So that, as long as the accountants know that you are within the first few weeks to a month, you're in data collection mode. That's the problem with most people's perception of ads. Number one, number one, they're not guaranteed sales. It's advertising. Like, brick and mortar store, if you had a brick and mortar store and it wasn't on a high traffic area, you would need a billboard. You would need a newspaper ad or a magazine ad. You would need some way to get people into your physical store. It's the same exact thing with Amazon, but people don't make that connection. So you just tell the accountants, look, we need to figure out what keywords it takes to get people to walk into our store, which is your product detail page. And that takes budget. So we're not going to, if you follow your break-even ACoS, we're not going to make money, but we're not going to lose money. But, for a month, we're not going to be in sales positive. We're going to be in data collection mode. And then after that, and this is with every campaign, by the way, after that, then we optimize it down, and then we can start seeing profits. But yeah, you got to put budget up front, understanding that you're not necessarily going to make net positive sales in that data collection mode.
Very true. All right. So then next up, Heiberg asks, hi, I'm a private label seller, but Amazon still asks for an invoice to get approved in brand category. Do you guys have any suggestions on how to format the invoice?
No idea.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for one, Amazon hates the word pro forma. So I have factories I work with in China that love the word pro forma. And I just got to tell them don't do it. Now, if you are your own, I've seen this happen to people where so if you're making your own product, like literally you're the factory, get an invoice, not necessarily for that product, but for the raw materials or something. So I know of someone who was making their own product off, literally they were buying stuff on Amazon, manufacturing the product in their own kitchen. And so they had to show Amazon invoices for their own products.
That's funny.
So I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. But as far as just check the guidelines they have. And if they keep denying it, then you're just going to have to keep coming back to them and saying, per your guidelines that say X, Y, and Z, I included X, Y, and Z. And sometimes you have to give them the invoice, but then also attach a second version of the invoice that literally points like where things are on the invoice that they require. And sometimes you have to give it to them like that.
And that's with all things Amazon, guys. Like,
yeah.
if you have to deal with customer support, you have to realize that they don't read anything. Like, it's so bad. So you really have to be explicit with what you say, what you send, give them directions, or else they just ignore it, or they just pass it up to somebody else, and it takes forever. So don't depend on, and hopefully no one from Amazon is listening to this, but don't depend on them to do anything for you. You have to literally hand them stuff on a plate, and then you'll get traction.
Yeah. It's sad that it's like that, but such is life. You can only work with it so much, because at the end of the day, like, as much as we all complain about it, like, if you've ever dealt with, like, let's say Facebook, if you had to use their customer service or advertiser service, you have a new appreciation for what Amazon actually does provide. It's just with Amazon, more than the person you're dealing with. That's the hard part. All right. So next up, the mom blog asks, I'm pretty much new to this conversation, but still, this is my learning process to Amazon, so I'm watching. Any advice for newbies, like the mom blog?
I mean, depends on budgets. Like, I still advocate Helium 10. They're a great resource for brand new sellers. There's still some of my video content there. It's around PPC specifically, but so much content. So I would say look into Helium 10 for PPC. I've got a series coming out on the Trivium YouTube channel, basically 6 different videos breaking down PPC from beginners all the way through intermediate through advanced. That could be helpful. That should be launched at some point, probably by the end of this month. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of free content out there you can look at, but that's the other problem. There's tons of free content out there
Right.
to look at. Yeah, so that's why I'm specifically saying Helium 10, because they're a trusted resource. And obviously and now I'm at Trivium, so our stuff is trusted. Like, again, I've been doing this since 2017, so that's where my content comes from. Whereas I log on to YouTube sometimes and look at other people's content, like they've been doing this for 3 weeks and they're already doing videos. I'm like, what?
Right. Yeah. I've seen some of those, like,
And they're saying wrong stuff. And I'm like, no, God, stop.
yeah. Yeah. So you got to be cautious of who you're getting
You do.
information from. Now, one little quick shameless plug on our end. So if you do have questions Amazon related, and maybe you're watching the replay, you can go to, and I'll add a link for this here in a moment, but you can go to magai.myamazonguide.com. And on here, you can ask whatever kind of Amazon questions you have, ask it down here. You can create an account. If you create an account and ask a question, you will go into a drawing for this week, ending on Friday the 8th. And you could win a free year of the premium version of Mag AI. So I will go ahead and add that into the chat for you to check out as well. So, all right. So next up, let's get to more questions. James did confirm, sorry for the confusion, it's $3,000 total per month for all ASINs. So he spends a total of $3,000 a month.
Well, then the follow-up question is, how many ASINs is he actually advertising? So if
that would be a very
1,000 ASINs, you're only spending 3,000 a month, then you're not spending, unfortunately, you're not spending nearly enough to actually know anything about the performance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're going to have to spend more.
If it was one ASIN or two ASINs, then maybe. But
yeah, I would say this is definitely an 80-20, or at least 80-20 on categories of products. You know, if it's like,
yeah, if the minimum suggested campaign daily budget is $30, then, you know, that's just a couple of ASINs.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So next up, Yvonne Miller says, follow up my auto campaign questions. I've switched off an auto campaign. Should I switch it back on or create a new campaign?
Great question. I advocate for never turning off campaigns if you can avoid it. There's a couple of things that Amazon loves. Relevancy, obviously, is the most important, but history. Like, people forget, Amazon loves older campaigns. The older your campaign is, the better it's going to perform. Always. I've tried to recreate stuff I have done in some campaigns a couple of years ago, and I try to recreate it now. It doesn't work. So the best thing to do is, for an auto campaign, instead of switching off the auto campaign, just switch off all the stuff that wasn't working. So, you know, I've noticed, Yvonne, that you haven't mentioned, you know, that you have used negative or you have optimized the auto campaign. It's not just the auto campaign works or the auto campaign doesn't. It's, did I look at the search terms? Did I negate the search terms? Did I turn off particular targets that weren't working? Did I try to lower the bids on those ones first? So I would say that if you look at your search term report and you do see any keywords or ASINs that were making sales at a decent ACoS, I would say that it is worth turning it back on and just leaving those ASINs or search terms non-negated, and then it should be okay.
Okay. Yeah. So basically you're saying just turn it back on and optimize it.
No, I'm saying optimize it first and then turn it back on.
Got it. Sorry, I just had the order of the operation.
If it has not been optimized regularly, like, again, auto campaigns need to be, especially at launch. But again, even at auto campaigns, I'm saying have it on for a month. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you look at the data. So, even with an honor campaign, 3 weeks, I just leave them on. And yeah, I tell my clients, look, this is a new campaign. This is the budget. This is what we're probably going to spend. But that you have to do that. Unfortunately, the people that tiptoe into PPC aren't ever going to succeed at PPC. You have to understand, I'm gonna spend X amount of money, and you can figure that out. You can look at your averages, or you can look at when you're creating campaigns, you can see suggested bids for keywords that you want to target, and you can kind of guesstimate how much you might spend a day on that particular type of campaign. But if you're not willing to do that to get that data, then you're not going to ever succeed, because there's a ton of other sellers out there that are doing that are spending the budget and that are looking at the data, that aren't going out of budget. And unfortunately, in this super ultra competitive environment, which Amazon is, those are going to be the people that are going to be able to outlast or create a data set, which then they can then use rolling forward, that actually is generating good sales and good ACoS and tacos.
Yes, and one of the nice things too is with Amazon, nothing is guaranteed, but you're much more likely to have at least some results to recoup some of your investment than if you just said, I'm gonna go all in on Facebook and YouTube ads, and
Right.
or Google ads or something.
Mm-hmm.
Those take a lot more time and effort to monetize and make work. Whereas Amazon, you start getting results pretty quickly.
Pretty immediately. You can see what's working or not. But again, you still need enough data to then make that call, right? So far too often I see people saying, well, I'm spending $10 a day. I'm like, then you're going out of budget, or you're not targeting enough keywords. Like you get the results pretty quickly, but the data set has to be full in order to then really know what to do and how to manage and how to optimize things. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you increase a bid on a keyword and 2 days later you're like, oh, that didn't make any sales, I'm going to decrease that back down. No. Why would you do that? You need to give, it's immediate, but you need to give the system time. If it's a lower volume, on average, I would say most sellers can afford to look at their campaigns once a week for keyword changes to see what happened, right? If you've got super high volume keywords, then maybe a little bit more, but generally speaking, you make a bid change, look at it the next week, right? Because that's the only way you're going to know, okay, did that bid change actually do what I wanted it to do? So anyway, I know we kind of went on a caveat, but
no, that was good. So, all right. So, Exit in 7 asks, or Alan Burbank, been 5 weeks waiting for free audit named to Derma. Can you please put in a word? So,
yeah, I can try. If you want to message me, Alan, I can forward that on for you. My email is just vince@triviumco.com. So if you want to follow up with me on that, you can do. Or wait, no, it's vince.m at Trivium.
So vince.m@triviumco.com.
Yes.
Minus the HTTPS, but I just put up the spelling of Trivium Co, since we already have Vince.
Yes. Vince.m@triviumco.com. I just double checked.
Awesome. All right. So next up, question-wise, the mom blog says, thanks a lot. Haha. Yeah. In Pakistan, there's everybody right now doing Amazon stuff and all. Okay. So this is the fact that there's a lot of people. So mom blog had mentioned earlier that she was new to all of this and learning a lot. So yeah, there's Pakistan kind of came out of nowhere a few years ago with asking a lot of questions and being very active in Facebook groups and things like that. So Pakistan's up and coming.
It is up and coming.
Yes. But there is a lot of competition.
I would just fall back on, check the background of the people that you're learning from. And as long as they've got, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 years under their belt doing what they're doing, then you can listen to them. If not, I wouldn't.
Yeah. One thing I will say is if you're in I guess this wouldn't happen in a Facebook group, but if you ever get an email from someone or whatever, and you see a gray background, they probably just use ChatGPT to write it because they probably aren't sure what to say themselves. Not to say I've never used ChatGPT to help me formulate, like, here's what I'm trying to get across, help me word it. But I do see that sometimes I'll get an email from someone.
Really?
Like a gray background? Yeah, because if you copy and paste from ChatGPT, it's got a gray background.
Oh, got it. Interesting. Good to know.
So to Vince's point, always be very careful of where you get the information from and is it trustworthy?
Yeah.
All right. So Jeffrey Valen says, since ad function at the SKU level, I'm thinking it's a bad idea to check in and run FBM ads before your FBA checked in. Partner wants to advertise FBM right away before FBA is checked in. Any thoughts?
So I'd say number one, ads function at the campaign level, not the SKU level. So you have to look at it from that perspective. And I say that because like Amazon's in fully control over, like, let's say you have a campaign and it's got multiple SKUs in it. Doesn't matter. Amazon's still going to decide which SKU it wants to show.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, Jeffrey, you have to look at it. Amazon looks at the campaign level, right? So like budgets, like let's say you've got two different ad groups, which you shouldn't do. You should have one ad group, but let's say you've got two different ad groups and they both got $50 or your budget's $100. You would think that it would be an even split between the two ad groups. It's not. It's just at the campaign level, and Amazon makes all the decisions from there. So when comparing, so for my clients that have FBM, I just put the FBM SKU in there with their FBA SKU so that if they ever go out of stock on the FBA SKU, the FBM SKU is still there. It's still active. However, whenever that does happen, let's say they were out of stock for a week or two and the FBM SKU was active, every single time ACoS jumps. ACoS jumps. So tell your partner, yeah, we can launch the FBM now, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than if we waited until the FBA stock was in there. So as far as I'm concerned, FBM stock is just backup in case your FBA goes out. That's all it is. That's how I prefer to look at it. Some people may advocate differently, but your FBA stock is always going to sell better. Why? Because it's in Amazon's warehouse.
Right. Amazon wants to be in control.
Yes, they're always going to favor the FBA SKU over your FBM SKU. Always. And delivery depends on your delivery. So if you're in FBA, more likely you have Prime. If you're FBM, you might not have Prime. So in that one, definitely between the two, shoppers will buy Prime over non-Prime. So, same ad, same keyword. They click on it. If they don't see Prime, they go somewhere else. So you're paying for the click, higher ACoS. So if you do have seller fulfilled Prime on both, that's great. Amazon's still going to favor the FBA SKU every time.
Got it. Yeah, I agree. Now, here's a little wrinkle, which I don't know if this changes your opinion one way or the other, but he wants to say that this is on a brand new product. So you'd be basically launching with the FBM, waiting on the FBA.
Yes, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, so you'd only do this as a running out mechanism, not a jumpstart mechanism.
Yes. Yeah. Again, unless it's seller fulfilled Prime, if you have the Prime label on there, Jeffrey, you can try it, but you're gonna get different PPC results if once you have your FBA SKU in there versus your FBM. Like even if you have seller fulfilled Prime, I mean, it sucks, but you just have to think about it. Okay, from Amazon's perspective, which SKU are they going to favor? They're going to favor the FBA SKU. So I would wait for the FBA stock to get disseminated, then launch PPC, because you're going to get it's going to be a different result than if you launch just with the FBM. It just is.
Yeah, and another, if the concern is like it's taking too long because they're doing like LTL or whatever, and the truck's going to take a while,
Yeah.
send 3 cases UPS.
Mm.
Like as parcels. So send them as, whether the units or cases or whatever, send them instead of sending them LTL, send them, preferred carrier UPS, and they might get there sooner. They might not, but it's, I mean, if that's the concern, I would say figure out a way to get stuff sooner because you're going to get better data. So,
yeah. And the follow-up question, Jeffrey, is do you have seller fulfilled Prime? If you do have seller fulfilled Prime, then I would say it's a better test. If you don't have seller fulfilled Prime, then absolutely wait for the FBA stock to hit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So for folks who want to learn more from you or follow you, where will they go, Vince?
Yeah, again, I'm on the Trivium YouTube channel. There's tons of content there. There should be links on the website there as well. But yeah, LinkedIn, I post not as frequently as I should, but I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. So, oh, there it is. Perfect. So
boom, we have that ready.
Yeah, you did. If you want to follow me there, or ask me any follow-up questions, happy to again to chat about more of this kind of stuff. That's why I'm online today. And I do have a monthly AMA as well called Sir Tacos Tuesday. I used to have a AMA called Tacos Tuesday at Helium 10. So I kind of carried it on because I became known as Mr. Tacos and I switched it to Sir Tacos. So that's another way. That's the last Tuesday of each month. So that's another way to do this kind of live question format.
Gotcha. Chicken or steak?
Chicken.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, preferably fish.
Okay. Fish tacos are good too.
I'm a fish taco kind of guy. Yeah.
So like here, people oftentimes do mahi or snapper. Is it similar in California or you do different fish?
Yeah, we do that as well. Yeah. Same.
Okay. So mahi and snapper a lot of times. Blackened?
Oh, yeah. Oh, blackened. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely gotta have blackened. All right.
Or every once in a while I'll do the beer battered cod, which is
that's good too. That's good too. All right. So we have one more question. I think this might be our last question in case we get any more come in. We may be able to get to them. But ACoS, hopefully I said that right. My Christmas product shipment is checked in. That's great. I have I've launched a few campaigns for PPC, but there's no search volume on my products keywords at present. Shall I continue with the ads campaign or pause them?
Again, because of what I said before, Amazon likes history. So I would say if your product is super seasonal and people just aren't searching for it right now, I would say just drop the campaign budget or drop the bids really low on those PPC campaigns. And then when your product is in season, when people are start to search for it, then just increase everything back up. It's better to do that than pausing and unpausing. If you pause it, you would need to unpause it within like 2 weeks in order for it to kind of stay in Amazon's algorithm. Once your campaign's off, it used to be like a month you could go, but now it's if your campaign's off for 2 weeks, it's almost like it's basically almost starting over at like you were back at launch. So I would say, since they're already launched, I would say just drop them down, the campaign budgets or maybe the bids or both, and then wait to see. Hopefully, when your product is going to start getting some search volume, and then I would just wait till right before then, or right before Christmas, I would say.
Yeah, and some of it is just going to be, and I don't know if this person has done Christmas before, but I have some stuff that's Christmas related, and you're just going to have to write out the fact that if people aren't searching for it, Amazon doesn't have a lot to give you.
Right.
But once they do, just be ready because it's going to come.
And we did, and we might have. I'm pretty sure we're having that October Prime Day thing again. They're calling it something different again this year. So it's not Prime Day, but it's an Amazon sales event. It's in October, and it is technically it is to launch the Christmas season, right? That's so I would say that's just next month. So I'd say at a bare minimum, maybe just wait for that event to happen, probably sometime mid-October, and you might see a spike there, especially since you're saying it's for Christmas. So hopefully it's a gift, kind of related product, or maybe even a Christmas product. And then I think people will start. I think people will wait for their shopping, season to begin potentially for that Amazon event in October. I'm trying to think of the name. It's called Fall something. Amazon Deals Day. Well, I can't remember it.
Yeah,
but they did it last year. It was basically a second in October. So I'm pretty sure they're doing it again. In fact, I know they're doing it again. We just don't know the dates.
Got it. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that, because Amazon likes to throw these things sometimes out somewhat last minute.
Yeah, they announced dates last minute. I don't know why. I ask the reps all the time. I'm like, why do you guys keep the dates hidden? Like, I don't get it. But whatever. Yes. I don't work there.
Exactly. But that's Amazon. All right. But just as a reminder, if you want to learn more from Vince, you can always go to triviumcode.com. You can also sign up for a free PPC campaign audit there as well.
Yep.
And you can go to their YouTube channel, which we recommend you do, and subscribe so that you can check out some of Sir Taco Tuesdays.
Taco Tuesday. And that is one way to verify it's me on LinkedIn too, because it's there. It says Vince Sir Tacos Montero.
Got it. And also follow Vince on LinkedIn as well. So awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you, Vince, for coming on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.